I have Dan Gelhar and Davis Wieck with me today, and they are with Black and McDonald. These are the guys that are putting up the stuff for the wind farm. That's all I'm going to say. Here they are. They're ready to get to it.
Everybody see it all right back there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dan Gelhar. Like you said, I work for Black McDonald, and I'm a lead field engineer for us out there. And I just wanted to go over, David asked me to go over a lot of stuff for the kind of what our status is. I know a lot of the community members have been wondering what's been going on out there, when we're expecting to see components and when the towers are going to be put up. So I kind of have a little background here. We got project's going to be 43 turbines. It's about enough to do 50,000 homes. It's going to be about 150 megawatts this phase. We got, right now we only have about 50 guys that are on site at a time. Once we get the components out here, it's going to be upwards of about 150. It's going to be for a few months, but there'll be about 150. We are building a transmission line from our substation to the new NACELLE energy switchyard that they built out there. It's going to be about a mile. We got about 11 miles of new roads that we have built, and then plus about 140,000 feet of collection cables that we are currently trenching in. So let's go over the access roads. The process that we go is we had surveyors out there. We had clearing and grubbing, taking all the topsoil off and pushing it to the side to keep it separated from the subgrade underneath. Then we placed 16-foot roads all the way throughout the CRP land, the landowners' fields and stuff like that. So this is kind of what it looks like before we had the aggregate placed. We got the topsoil piled out on the right-hand side here. And then go to the next one. Here's the access roads going through the gravel that is being placed out there. So after the roads are done, we were able to go out and put all the foundations in. So these foundations are about 72 feet by 72 feet, and they're 10 feet deep. And we have 43 holes. Each foundation has about 34 tons of steel per foundation, plus about 440 yards to about 450 yards of concrete per foundation. So here's what the foundations look like beforehand. So there's the hole that we had dug in the ground. We had to roll in the subgrade underneath. Then on the right-hand picture we call it a seal slab or a mud mat. What it does is it allows us to work and build on top of the surface of the subgrade. And right there on the, I want to go back again. Right now we call it the bottom mat, which is our main building surface for our foundations. So the one on the left over here is what the actual rebar cage of the foundation looks like. We got all of our anchor bolts, our embedment rings, all the grounding cables for like electrical storms and stuff to be able to ground these turbines in. And on the right shows the guy standing on top of it. We're pouring the concrete right in that photo. And that's what the one on the left is what the foundations look like after they've been poured. So right here, it sits about 6.5 feet up to here, and we've got about 3.5 feet up to the top of the pedestal, where there's about a foot sticking out, as you can see in this right-hand picture. Right now, all of our foundations are currently buried, so they all look like that picture that was like this. So you kind of, when you're driving, you kind of miss them because they're about 16 feet across. So this is the second part of our thing. After we got all the foundations in, we started all the collection trenching. So right now we have about 50,000 feet in right at them. Currently, we just finished up 2 of our lines yesterday, and just kind of showing the process of it. Here's a picture of the feeder that puts the cable into the ground. So, which comes off these big reels, goes over the top of the machine, you'll see in the next picture, and goes down into here where the actual trench has been created. And then they go back behind and backfill and compact all the stuff in. And those cables are currently sitting about 4 feet in the ground. So here's a picture of the trencher, and you can see the excavator in front of it kind of clearing out and pushing the dirt out to the side to keep it from going back in the trench before we can get it actually compacted in. Here's another picture of the trencher from the front side. So it's currently going this direction in that photo. And there's one more. There's actually two more. It just kind of shows how much cable they string out beforehand. And you got fiber optics, and they got 3 different kinds of cable. I can't remember what all of them were, plus a grounding cable. And here's a picture of it from the side. So they got the dirt coming out the feeder from the trencher here, going and pulling all the dirt out as they're placing it. So these are our junction boxes. You'll see them out there if you ever go out there after the project's done. This is where we connect all of our lines together that we run to the substation from the turbines. So right now they're all currently right on side the county roads out there. So I know landowners and stuff didn't want them out in their fields, which they're gladly they're not. So they don't have to worry about ever seeing them out or hitting them out in their fields. So after our collection stuff, we'll start getting prepared for all of our components coming in, which is going to be here at the end of July. We're going to have a lot of traffic out here. I don't know exactly where the component routes are coming through, if they're going to come through town here, going south of town, or if they're going to come up north or from Sedan. We don't know for sure yet. But our plan are to have 5 full turbines arrive a week. So, and there's 10 trucks per turbine, so there'll be 50 of these long semis coming through either town or somewhere out through the community here. So it's going to be very busy, especially when the blades come through. I know you guys have seen, I'm sure, the blades come through town at some point in time. These ones are 210 feet long, so they're going to take up a lot of space. So this is kind of a typical what we have laid out. Right now all of our pads are about 200 feet wide that we're able to fit all these components in. Let's go to the next one. So we have different layouts depending on the type of foundation, whether it's the end of a string or if it's one that we hit before we get there. So I'm just kind of go through some photos of what your typical components that you'll see. This is the nacelle, which has all the generator, the drivetrain, the transformer all inside. So a thing like this where the blades and the hub will connect onto the front. And this is showing the lift of one, which is, this is actually our heaviest component to lift after everything is in there. So this is what we consider a very high risk pick. So we really limit like workers being around, any kind of visitors at the site when we're doing these ones. Same thing with the blades. The blades, since they're so long, we have to have, when we're offloading them, we have to have 2 cranes to be able to pick them up to keep the wind from taking, so we can set them on the ground. Same thing with all of the bases. I mean, we have four bases. You want to go to the next one too? Yeah, and then the blades, you can see how big they are. We have to create all these radiuses to get them around the county roads. It's the hub that connects onto the front of the nacelle. Then we have all 3 blades will connect onto that, which I think the next one shows. Yeah, showing the blades being installed. We do have to install one at a time. So we have the big crane will actually clamp, we have a clamp that actually clamps onto the side of it, lifts it up, and then connects it into the, up into the hub. So then after we got all the towers stacked, we're going to have our reclamation process. So this is where we'll be touching up all of our roads, touching up the pads, getting all the topsoil dropped back, and then reseeding it depending on what landowner preference or whether CRP land has. So, and to follow, or to kind of end this up, we just wanted to reiterate that once the components get in, it's going to be a very high risk operation for anybody, the workers and plus the community, since we have lots of trucks running, a lot more personnel running around out there. We're going to have big cranes, lots of trucks, and that is definitely important to us to keep the community safe and also keep our workers safe. So it's always good to either check in with us at our trailer, always before going out on site, or it's even better to just look at from a distance away from, so you'd probably be able to see all this stuff from probably a couple miles away. You'd be driving on 84 coming up and see us putting these things up. So with that, got any questions?
You were showing that junction box, is that what's laying on the side of 84 right here? I just noticed Saturday there was like some big gray boxes out there.
Those ones I think are for that's what they are, but I think that's 5 for some guys playing fiber optic cables out.
That's that fiber optic line that's running
Yeah.
down 84.
Yeah, all of ours have been installed. We only have 8 of them out there, so they're already out all in place.
So, once that thing's assembled and everything, what's the weight of the total unit?
That is a good question. I know I did calculate out what the weight of just the foundation and the dirt sitting on top of the foundation is like 2-some million pounds just with the foundation. I know the nacelle on top is about 220,000 pounds. I think just the nacelle on top is.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The main shaft in there is what, or so the nacelle that actually comes in that we'll get, it's in 2 parts, and then we have to put it together because the main shaft, we'll have to lift that and set it in. That's what is the majority of the weight for that. And they can't, the weight limit's too much for trucks to bring it all in one piece, so that's why it comes in 2.
Yeah.
That's why the nacelle comes.
And then the drivetrain.
And then the drivetrain will go in the nacelle.
So once you start going up with it, how long does it take you to assemble one whole turbine?
So the way we'll do it, and how most crews do it, I suppose, is they'll come through and stack like the base in the middle, the first mid to it, and then it'll move on and keep stacking like that. And then a day later, the big crane will come behind it, and it will stack out the rest of it. And so I don't know what we're doing yet for sure.
It depends
We
on-
might have a second large crane that'll come behind that one to do the blades for it.
Yeah, no, usually, once we get going, it'll take about, our plan is to stack out or top off tower a day. So like 8 hours, we should be putting a full tower up. All depends on the wind, of course.
So you said you have 5 arrive every week,
That's what our plan is.
and
yes,
so,
until they are all here.
okay.
I missed the first slide. How many megawatts are there?
They're 3.45 megawatts per turbine, so. They're the big ones.
Yeah.
And y'all, after you get them installed, how many will be employed just to keep them in operation?
That's not us. Once we stack them out, then it moves on to Vestas, so it just depends on how many Vestas guys. I know at the one we just finished up down in St. Lawrence, they probably had 20 guys to start, and then about a month's time, once they get everything commissioned, then they'll kind of start waning them off, and then they start training whoever the owner wants to leave here. Like the last project, it was Eon, which is, they just specialize in maintenance and whatnot, so.
So, this obviously isn't y'all's first project.
This is my third one.
5th one for me.
And by the way, Texas Tech graduate, right there. For those of you back there keeping score.
There you go.
So, this has nothing to do with wind turbines. Where are you from?
I'm from northern Minnesota.
Okay, I was guessing
That's close.
May as well be
Davis is
Canada.
from Delaware?
No,
That's where my parents are from. I'm from Sherman.
Sure.
So that the energy that you take out for those mills there, will they go overhead back to the substation?
No, they're all underground, so that's why we're trenching in all those cables. And all the cables are about this big around, and we're trenching them 4 feet deep all the way through. And
It'll
then
go underground all the way?
all the way.
To the substation, and then from the substation
It's above
to the
ground.
Needmore
And then
station
it'll go
above
back
ground.
overhead?
Yep.
so you were talking about reclamation. So, but you still leave a road
Yep.
access
Yes.
to each and every one
Yeah,
of them.
because we have to have the roads be for the, we call them the operation and maintenance people. They'll actually have a building out there that they'll be like their housing center
Mhm.
for the lifetime of the turbines out here. So they'll be based out of there, so we have to have roads for all those guys to be able to get to all these turbines, to be able to do, I think it's like a 6-month inspections and stuff like that, so.
So the life of the turbine.
I don't know what these ones
They
are.
say 20 years, but usually once it starts getting close to the 20 years, I imagine they'll reevaluate them, and some will get updates, bigger generator or new blades. like down in Sterling City, they just did a 3,000 megawatt repower. So they'll say another 20 years, I'd imagine, you know, and just however the leasing works out with the owners and the landowners. It just all depends, I suppose. But yeah, about 20 years is the industry standard, I guess.
South of Sweetwater, there's, I don't know, we call it a graveyard, I guess, of blades that have actually been cut in two and then they're stacked there. So I don't know what is the lifespan of a blade.
It depends on if something hits it or not, I'm sure.
Okay, but is that what causes, I mean?
That, or like I said, the like especially down there, those are really small compared to the ones we're gonna put up. So they'll look at them and say, okay, it costs this much to put longer blades on and a bigger generator and do that, or they'll just put the same size because it's cheaper.
Or sometimes they'll just redo the whole tower, they'll redo
Right.
the foundations and everything.
That's expensive.
It is
They don't like to do that.
So, and the tower's a two-piece?
four,
Four
Four-piece
pieces.
tower. Okay.
yeah, 4-piece just for the shaft going up, and then they got, yeah, there's the nacelle and the hub go up, and then there's the 3 blades, so it's a 7.
87 meters tall to the hub height, so it's almost 300 foot.
So is there a guy up there with a ratchet putting up, doesn't it
Oh, yeah.
bolt on? And
Yeah, all the way up. So we have there'll be guys up inside the hub when they're putting the blades on. So,
I bet that makes pretty good money, don't they?
They work for it, that's for
yeah,
sure.
they do.
Tell us how fast that blade's running at the tip on normal.
At the tip,
It's moving.
I'd probably say like 180 miles an hour,
Yeah, I'd say it's
200 miles an hour,
180,
somewhere around there.
depending on how fast the wind's blowing?
They actually try to keep it at, because all those blades rotate.
Right.
So they yaw depending on the direction the wind is coming. So they always try to keep their max output. So they'll, depending on, if there's a lot of wind, they'll actually turn the blades way back. So that way they don't want those blades to be overspinning. So
Yeah.
too much wind can actually be, they'll shut the turbines down if there's too much wind.
Takes like 2.5 meters to start them, and then
2.5 meters.
per second, which I don't know what that is in miles an hour, but then 25 meters per second is when they shut themselves off.
And is it all controlled via Wi-Fi or something like
It's
that?
through the fiber optics, because we lay
Oh,
fiber
okay.
optics throughout the
You
whole
said
thing.
the fiber optic.
Yeah, then we have there's actually like a computer system inside the operations building that controls the towers.
A lot of them you see a little bit sticking up, and I just was wondering.
We saw some down at Seymour, back in the spring, looked like they caught on fire. Is that from running too fast?
Was it a black deal down the front?
No, it's just that box up there, the top is brown.
Because
What?
I drive through Seymour quite a bit, and I saw that one, and I think that one did catch on fire because they've replaced it now.
Mhm.
So
They were replaced.
I would think that one, so whatever happened to it, something went wrong and it hurt itself somehow. So I know last time I drove through there, they had a crane out there taking it down.
What's y'all's biggest challenge coming into a new community and starting this project? I mean,
I was gonna say,
is it just,
the biggest thing is depending on how the landowners in the community is in welcoming the wind farm. Because we've both been on projects where the community did not want them there. So it was kind of a challenge having to try to keep the landowners happy because a lot of them didn't want it there. So I know here it's been, you've been kind of welcomed with open arms, I'd say, for the most part out here.
We thought about a parade, but I'm really sorry.
But you can come around July the 4th, we'll put you in it.
Put one of those big blades going down Main Street.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna make the turn.
Man, you're pessimistic.
Maybe it's dark.
How long will you guys be here on the construction part?
I'll be here probably through December. And I'm more than likely, a lot of us, the managerial positions will be. Depends on exactly when construction's gonna slow down. I know, I was out here last November, when we the initial part was going to take off before stuff got delayed, but, so on average, we're out here, anywhere, our guys will be anywhere from 6 months to a year. On site.
The majority of people should be out of here by, I would say probably,
October, no,
no,
November.
end of November probably is when it'll be pretty much a skeleton crew, if I had to guess. If everything goes according to plan, wind works out.
So will you guys come back when they start phase 2, or will it be a different crew? Or?
That's above our pay grade, it just, it depends.
Yeah, because we don't know much about what
Right.
it actually takes, because that's above and do our corporate stuff, so.
Yeah, I know they're still working on bidding and whatnot, so we haven't heard anything about phase 2 yet.
So you'll have a completion date or target online date or?
Yeah, it's in December,
Yeah,
is when we're planning on to be done with,
the beginning of December, I think is our,
Do you have another one lined out after this?
us right now, we have a job up in Kansas and then back down in, we just got another one in South Texas, near Corpus, somewhere down there.
Well, one thing about it down here, you ain't got many obstacles.
And there's no rocks. St. Lawrence had a lot of rocks.
Yeah, there was no rock we had to hit out here.
You don't have to worry about muddy roads either in and out.
The monsoon's coming.
Say, last fall was a different story though, when we were out here, that was a muddy mess out there last fall.
For the 2 weeks.
I forgot about that.
But yeah, we haven't, it's been, I know it sucks for all you guys not having rain, but for us, it's been kind of nice not having rain, so.
Anybody else got any questions? Now's the time. All right, well, thanks, guys.
Yeah,